Okay guys, check out our little Flask Excel to browser application that we did here. Last time we could just see BC, and this time we were able to put in BC as part of our URL, but we can also put in Ontario, and you can see that our little application is going to go and filter the data that came from that Excel sheet, and we can look at Ontario, which is fantastic. We can put in other province abbreviations like Prince Edward Island. Give a shout out in the comments below there if you've been to any of these cities. I have not. And we could also put in New Brunswick into our search string there, and we'll get the cities for New Brunswick, and that is exactly what we want to see there. I'm your host, Sean MacKenzie. Thank you for joining me once again on my channel on data engineering. In this episode, we go back to our Flask playlist, and we're going to take a look at how to use routing and variables. Now, these are very, very important when you build Flask applications because it allows users to put in, URL paths that have some variables in them, like a user ID, or you could have a part number or whatever. And in this case today, what we're going to do is we're going to take our little application that handles province lookups, and we're going to allow users to put the province at the end of their request so that we can filter our list by province. Let's get to it. Interested in the files used in these videos? Make sure to check out my downloads page. The link is in the description. Okay guys, pretty fun one today. We are going to continue on from where we were last time, where we had this nice little script that we did that did sort of like the default page in Flask. And so we output a default page, and we used our command prompt to launch the application. And first what we're going to do is go to our deployment directory. In this case, I'm using a directory in my local C drive here, and I'm going to activate the virtual environment just like we did in the first two episodes. And then once our virtual environment has been activated, then we can go ahead and start our Flask process here, and it's going to use the Flask command, and we're going to put in that app variable there, and we'll put in the name of our file, and we'll put run at the end, and that is going to start Flask for us. Nice little lightweight server, and there is the little script we did last time, and you can see now Flask is running. It says we can do Control-C to quit, and that is the sort of the console output. And if I go and just run the default index page there from what we did last time, this is the output that we get, which was the cities from our city list, and that came from our Excel sheet. And we were filtering for British Columbia, sort of hard-coded last time, and so we've got British Columbia cities in that list. And this time what we want to do is we want to be able to change this variable here, or we want to use a variable there instead of having it hard-coded, and that's going to allow us to filter our output so that we get a different data frame. But what we need to do is we need to have the sort of architecture in there, and so I'm going to use that Control-C to quit there, and I'm going to go back to my script. And the way that we're going to do it is we're going to use the routing. And so at the start of this script here, you can see there's an app.route, and that is the default index page, and it uses this function to create some output for it. And that's what we did last time. And the app.route is sort of like the basic routing, and we created all of this stuff last time. Now, like I said in my last episode, we are going to be replacing this with a template, and we're going to cover templates in our next episode. And what we did in the script is we got a data frame, and we filtered that data frame for a city, and then we closed off our HTML. So we wanted to show how to create a complete HTML page and return it to the browser. And so our goal today is to create a few new routes in there, and we are going to also have a variable. And so we're going to demonstrate those. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the default output for the sort of index page of the entire site. So we're going to we're not going to output the nice list of cities anymore. When you just go to the default site, we're just going to return, in this case I'm just going to return a message saying this is our default directory. I'll call it directory/index page. It doesn't really matter what you put in there. We're going to be changing that in our upcoming episodes, but for now we'll leave a little message there saying this is our default page. And so that's going to be returned on the app route, the default one, which is just the index there. But what we can do is we can create other routes, and so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to create a route called provinces, and we'll say app.route provinces there, and we can put a function for that one as well. And so if we want to return a different string, we can do that, and that will be returned when somebody types in our site and then /provinces. So if they type that in, they'll get this provinces page return string in bold there, and that's all we're going to put in there for that route. And so then we can go to our command console here, and we can go ahead and type in the up arrow, and that'll give us the last command that we run, which is that Flask launch there. And then we can open our browser and hit refresh, and there we go. Now we've got a different message in our index page, and we're going to be replacing that with a full HTML template in an upcoming episode. And we've got a provinces page, which if we type in /provinces after the URL, we get that provinces page, and that's really what we want to see. So we can go back to our command prompt here, and we can use that Control-C, and that's going to stop the server, which is what we want to see there. And we can return and start looking at our code. So there's our default route. We've got another route at provinces there, and we still have these two functions. The first function is what's actually being returned for the provinces route, and we still have our function that we had before, which was the check it out function, and it's not being utilized at the moment. But what we will do is we'll create another route, and we can create a route that has a variable in it, and that route will have the provinces route in it, and then it's going to have a variable, and the variable will be in angle brackets. And so here we go, we'll put that provinces route in there, and then we're going to add another slash. We'll use the angle brackets to denote the variable, and we'll put our word or the variable name for the Flask variable inside of that, and so we'll call that one province. So we've got a variable called province inside of the route called provinces, and so we have a couple of different routes there. That province is going to get evaluated by our code, and so users can really put anything into that, and that's what we're going to take care of here. So we'll go ahead and create our import statement, and we'll go from markup safe import escape, and escape is going to take out all of the dangerous or most of the dangerous content that users could put in when they put in their own values into the browser URL. And we really want that because users could really put just about anything they want into the browser. Okay, let's go ahead and change our function for this. Let's make a little bit more of an appropriate name. We'll call it show province. And it's going to have a input variable called province. And if you notice that this is called province and this is called province, you are making the right connection there. We've got a Flask variable called province, and that will become a Python variable there, and away we go. So we're going to have a variable called province, and now that could have all kinds of crazy stuff in it, and so that's when we're going to use our escape function. So I'll make another variable called province abbreviation, and I'm going to use that escape function that we imported at the head of our script here, and we're going to escape the province variable, and I'm also going to change it to uppercase, which is what I did at the end there, so that we can have an exact match to the uppercase province abbreviations. And so from there I can go, my data frame for provinces. I can go ahead and read my World Cities XLSX Excel sheet, and I'm going to read that with the sheet name equal to sheet 2, as the sheet 2 has the abbreviations and the full names of the provinces. And one of the reasons that we used abbreviations was so that users can put in a short form. First, it's easier to put in, but also we don't have to account for spaces and things like that. However, sheet 1, which has the big city list, it uses the full province name as the admin. It's called admin name, I think, for the administrative region or whatever, because it's actually a list of cities all around the world. And so there we go. We've got our DF provinces. That's going to look at that XLS sheet in sheet 2, and it's going to get this list. I'll show you the list here so this is sheet 1 that we worked on last time, and I added this little list here that has the abbreviations for the different provinces in Canada. So at that point, we actually do have the right province, and so we could give some feedback to the user. We could say print, finding this province, and so we'll put our province variable in there, and that's going to give a little bit of console output to the administrative user. So that would be you. In the black screen on the left there, you can get a little bit of feedback, and so you can leave feedback in your code, and it will show up on each of the HTTP calls there, which is really cool. Okay, take note that we have a provinces data frame as well as a province data frame, and the provinces list is our lookup of abbreviations, and the province data frame will be the resulting search from the user input. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say our data frame provinces.query. We'll just do a query for this, and we'll say abbreviation is equal to the province variable that has been returned from the user input. And so that might match something, it might not match anything, and so our code needs to make sure that it accounts for that, and we'll do that down below here. But now we have a province data frame, and hopefully it has a matching abbreviation for and full name for a province. So what we'll do is we'll try and get the value here. We're going to try and get the province name is equal to the data frame, our province data frame. We'll use the iloc there, and we'll get the first row if it exists and the province name field from it. And if we get an exception on that, we'll return NA. So there's the names of the fields that I'm talking about. There's the province name, and that is the name that we want to look up in our data frame here. And so we are probably going to get a good result, but in the case that the user types in something that doesn't match any of our available lookups there, then we need to have sort of an exception. So we're going to use that try except block there, and we'll go ahead and we'll say our province name is equal to NA if something doesn't work there, if there's no rows in the table, or if we don't get a return result. And so we can give some feedback after that, and into the console, and we can say, print province name is, and then our province name, and that way we can troubleshoot if you get a problem, somebody can't load a page or something like that, and they keep running it, and you can see in the logs here, or you can at least see in the console, province name is for their particular attempts, and maybe there's some issue or something you can troubleshoot. So there we go. We've got our province name, and so here is the line where we look up the actual city list from the main list. And so we're going to change that a line, and we're just going to take out British Columbia there, and we'll put in our province name that we looked up. And so now we've got a list of cities that could be BC. It might not be BC, but that is our filter. And then what we can do is let's take off the BC cities in the name there, because that is now not true. It could be Ontario cities, it could be Alberta cities, could be any of the province cities that we've put in there. You could also extend the list and have states if you wanted to use this for the United States or other regions. Since the list really is quite extensive, it has almost all of the big cities in the world on it. So there we go. That is our filter list. So let's go ahead and we'll open our console. We'll hit the up arrow to get the last command run, and we'll hit OK. Oh, and look, I broke it already. Look at that. Oh, it says right down at the bottom there, app route, the province is not closed on my route there. So let's go up here, and we can put our closing bracket on. That is going to help a lot. We'll hit save, and then we can do the same thing. Up arrow, and it looks like it compiled and was able to run properly this time. So there we go. Let's see what we get. We'll pull up our browser, and now we can, we can refresh the provinces page, and that should give us the provinces page message there. You see it. But now we can type in BC or Ontario or whatever, and we can see what kind of result we get. And hopefully this does the lookup correctly. There we go. Okay, so it worked on the BC cities. So you can see there are lots of cities here in BC, and I can put in Ontario /ON for Ontario. And let's see what that comes back with here. You can see the little spinny on the top left there. And there we go. We've got our Ontario cities. There was Toronto in there and all kinds of other ones. And this is sorted by population. So Ottawa is next and Kitchener after that. What if we type in Prince Edward Island here? We can check that out. I've never been, but I would like to go. And let's see here. Okay, so we've got Charlottetown, Summerside, and Stratford. Let's go ahead and try out New Brunswick. We'll put in NB in there, and let's see what kind of city list we get for that. The city list is quite big on that Excel sheet. It is all of the cities in the world apparently. So it takes a moment to do the filter on that. But there we go. We've got Moncton, Dieppe, St. John. Now what if I type in a bunch of crazy stuff with some angle brackets? So there we go. So that's kind of like the escape there. It's saying, can't find it. If I type in something without angle brackets, and it could possibly be an entry, we'll get it. We'll have an NA returned, and it is still churning there. And we'll see what that returns with. So it returns an empty list. So that's kind of what we want to see for that. If you put in something that has no match to it. But if I go back and I put Saskatchewan in, SK, and we let that one go ahead and filter, we'll get our list of cities for Saskatchewan. And that is exactly what we want to see. So as you can see, this is very, very handy, being able to use the variable function, since we can use that in code. And so now that makes it very, very easy to have, buttons on another page that just have the link to this page that has BC. So you could have a button for BC, a button for Alberta or whatever, and all you need to put on that button is the link with the abbreviation included. And so going back to our console here, you can see some of the feedback that we put into our coding, finding Alberta, province name is New Brunswick, on each of the calls made to the Flask server there. And so province name is Prince Edward Island. And so if you're doing some troubleshooting, you can leave output in the console, and that makes it very, very handy. Let's go ahead and use a Control-C for ending the Flask process, and we can sort of take a look at our code. Now, as I mentioned in my previous episode, we have not been working with templates yet, and so we've been sort of crafting together our HTML page using this output, which is a neat way to do output for demonstration. But as you'll see in our next episode, templates is where the rubber hits the road. Looking for more resources for your project? Make sure to check out the additional links in the description.